This is 2019 AS paper walkthrough and question 3 of the WJC Pure Unit 1. So with this question, we've got to use an algebraic method. That's the only thing that is stated to us to basically solve the equation. The hint is it's a cube. Okay, so when it's a cube, that we know we've got 3 different brackets. And that's equal to 0. So the first thing that we want to do is actually find that factor of basically one of the brackets. And we don't need to find all 3, but we're just going to start subbing in some values. And what I tend to use is 1 first off. So I plug that in. So I'll just type it into my calculator. So I'll do 12 times 1 to the power of 3 minus 29 times 1 to the power of 2 and so on. Once I type that in, that gave me -4, so I know it's not a factor. So then I try -1, because that might be a case. In this case, it gave me -42, so I know that's also not a factor. And then I tried f is 2. Now, f is 2 is a factor because it gives me 0. So what that means is that when I put 2 into my bracket, it gives me 0. So that means if I have x is -2, that then becomes my factor. So it's a bit like when we're doing that solving side of just simple like quadratics. When we have in the bracket x -2, well, we know that 2 is basically the x value. So this is working backwards. So we can say at this moment in time, x -2 is a factor. And I always state that down because when I'm looking back through my work, I know exactly where I was at that point. Now, to find the other values, what we're going to be doing is, well, there's one of many ways, method that I like to use. We're going to expand out of an imaginary question. So we don't know what the A value is. We don't know what the B value is, and we don't know what the C value is. And the reason why I use this method is this is a simple quadratic, and we know one of the factors is x -2. Times it by that is going to give us the other values. Now, all I'm doing is expanding out of that, giving me ax cubed, plus b x squared minus 2ax squared minus 2bx plus cx minus 2c, and that is equal to 0. Now, this is where we're going to use the knowledge we got. So once we expand in front of that, anything in front of the cube has to be equal to the cube at the top. So straight away, I can say a is equal to 12. Now, to find b, we're going to be looking at the next bit. So I know in front of my x squared at the moment, so -29 is the coefficient. So I've got b minus 2a. So b minus 2a. Well, I know 2a is 12, so 2 lots of that is 24. So that means b is -5. Quick maths and all that. So I can write that in. Now, there's 2 ways we could go about this. We could then work out our c value to check, or we could just rely on the last digit because we've just got c on its own. So we could then state that c is -2c is 6, so c is equal to -3. When we're at those points, we're now going to fill in our a, b, and x, which is 12x squared. It's not plus technically because it's minus. We can rub out that minus. I hope you like the fact I'm literally going through this word for word. 5x, and then the last bit minus 3. Factorize that. Again, as I said earlier in the previous video, if you're struggling with this factorizing part, please let me know and I can do an extra video on that, just so that you get the methods that we're using. But essentially, we're going to have 12x squared plus 4x, and then minus 9x minus 3, and that's 4x, 3x plus 1, minus 3, 3x plus 1. We've got 4x minus 3 and 3x plus 1. And then I can add my other bracket in there, x minus 2, and that is equal to 0. I can write them at the top. 3 and 3x plus 1. There we go. Now, it says to solve, so then what I would say is just x is 2, 3 over 4, or minus 1/3. And there you go. Question done. Answers. Oh, I've just actually I've written in the gaps, so that's not too bad. So the first thing is showing that you're using the factor theorem, which we've shown. So we got 1 mark then of getting the factor that it's 0, which is what we've done there. So x is a factor, it gave you another mark. So you actually got 2 marks for using the factor theorem. They've done then a very similar thing to me, but they've put the 12 in straight away, which makes sense. So I like to expand out at that point. And then they've done very similar. So they got to the point where 12x minus 5x minus 3, and then finding those 2 brackets. Once they found those 2 brackets, it's finding the values. So again, it just shows you that there's more than one way. And it says here, constant terms to multiply to get the minus 3, or a formula with correct A, B, and C, which is what we've done. As long as you're using an algebraic method, that is what they're concerned about. And there you go. There's the next one done.